Hello and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Jessa Jeremiah. As always, we've got a fun lineup for you today. We're talking to the Madison Jazz Society later in the show. I look forward to that interview. We're also talking about anti-bullying and how martial arts can help. First, we are talking about a topic that's a little bit new to me. We're talking about beekeeping. And this is Nathan Clark, who joins us from Mad Urban Bees. Glad to have you today.
Glad to be here.
So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the business. Now, here in Madison, so we're talking about urban beekeeping.
Yep.
And what made you start this business?
I was looking for something else to do. My background's in publishing and web design, and so just really was looking for something to do that got me outside and out off of a desk.
Interesting. This is an interesting career path, and it's got to be a kind of a fun and passionate one for you. So I'm not even sure what the possible answer to this question is, but what is the state of the bee?
State of the bees, it's still rough. It's still rough. There's still problems with parasites and disease, and especially with crops out west, problems with colony collapse. And it's still there, but being an urban beekeeper, trying to do my part to uphold the bee population.
And yeah, what an interesting thing to think about, because as, you know, just as a citizen, you don't think necessarily about that being a potential problem or that they might be facing some issues like that. Yeah. So some interesting things we're chatting about today. Now, I have not thought about the idea of really urban beekeeping. So what makes it different, or maybe some of the challenges between having a beekeeping business here in the Madison area versus maybe being in a more rural area?
So one of the things that I do that's a little bit differently is that I actually have people, almost like a landscaping service. I put my hives in other people's backyards, I maintain them, and then the host, as I call them, gets a small share of the honey. And as far as the differences, Madison has a very different floral composition than, say, outside in the countryside, because we have all of our parks, we've got all brick gardens, everybody's different lawns, all of our green space. All this provides a lot more food for the bees inside of the city.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, we are really in a city here, but a city that has a lot of great nature and a lot of great greenery and things that can help some of that. That being said, I'm sure there are challenges. And highlight some of those major challenges for us so we can kind of get in your world.
Well, one of the things that's a little bit different is that I have to deal with, I'd say, proximity of a lot of bees. So it's not just me that I'm not the only one keeping bees in Madison. There's a lot of other hobbyists. So there are issues with parasites and diseases just because of the close proximity of bees and people doing different things to take care of them.
Sure, absolutely. Now, you mentioned when we, a couple questions back, that you've got your beekeeping in other people's land, and some of the components of that is they get to keep a share of the honey, which sounds like a nice deal, a sweet deal, right? But other than that, you're going to then sell the honey, or then what do you do with the remaining?
Yes, the remaining honey gets sold at Willie Street Co-op, Metcalf's, and Hy-Vee, at least at the East and West stores. And otherwise, I sell it on my website, as well as at various holiday shows, like the upcoming MMOCA has a big holiday show that I'll be at.
Awesome. Wonderful. Now, if people want to support pollinators in their own yards, how do they get involved and be part of this?
Yeah, one of the best things is to not kill your dandelions. So dandelions actually, even though they're invasive, are a huge source of pollen and nectar, especially in the early spring when a lot of the pollinators really need that little help. I mean, go ahead and mow them down after that first bloom, but it's really important that those pollinators have that food source.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So good tips there for helping some of the pollination in your own backyard, and you wouldn't know how long to keep those dandelions. Sometimes you yank them at first sight. So interesting stuff. This is something I've learned a lot about. This is an interesting business, and I love the idea, and that you can buy honey locally right here in the area, straight from Mad Urban Bees. Again, this is Nathan Clark. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. We've got a lot more show coming up right after this.